won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip the switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, bitch, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now
What up? What up? What up? Welcome back into Pregaming. Here we go. It is Friday, TGIFF. We've made it. Not only have we made it to Friday, we've made it through the All-Star break. That's very exciting. Hope you guys are as fired up as I am for a big second half of the season. Man, it feels a little uncomfortable in here. I haven't been here in a minute. What have you guys been doing? How's everyone's summer treating them? Mine has been treating me well. I'll tell you what, I'm very excited. The sun is finally poking its head out. It's a manageable 73 degrees today, and it's a beautiful day. Cashed an early bet, cashed ourselves this Cubs and under. Give that out to our silver and gold supporters. Big casher out there. Easy winner. No sweat bet, as they say. I think it's around a plus 170, give or take. So we're already starting off firing. That's exactly where we want to be. Let me adjust this camera. There. Oh, no. Party foul. Who brought the new guy? Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Hopefully the camera's doing okay. I think we're okay. I think we're good to go. All right, so as I was saying, big Cubs and under winner today, cashed a plus 170 to pop us back off, leaving baseball, or starting baseball, just as we left it. Hey, long All-Star break. Man, it felt like it took forever. Woo. NL gets the win. A lot of controversy about the home run finish. I liked it. I got into a little Twitter spat with some folks here over the holiday, over the All-Star. It feels like a holiday to me. The All-Star break. Longest amount of time I've taken off on Pregaming, and I can't remember when. In fact, I was going in there and deleting the old overlays, putting the new ones in today, and I was like, man, they still show Friday. What's going on? And then it was last week, so I realized it has been a full week since we've been together here. Although we did have UFC Nashville last Saturday, and it was a bomb. We got some big cash paydays out there. Lots of things happening here on the sports money front. And as I was saying, got ourselves that Cubs and under. Hey, yesterday, we got that CFL game by the hook. Got a little CFL action that's trying to make that record back, trying to get that number back to 500. We're not 2-3 in our 5 CFL packs. So it was a hook. It was sweaty, but we cashed it. And yeah, as I was saying with the Twitter beef, a lot of people upset, a lot of purists in the sport of baseball that don't feel the home run finish is the way to go. I correlated it to the NHL. I said, look, they're doing shootouts. Seems fine. They're playing a lot of games anyways. How many games do we need to see? How many innings do we need to see? And then I even cited player safety, which is a first for me. Albeit I do want to see these guys play. They play a lot of games as it is. They don't need to play extra innings. So I liked it. I thought it was great. And, of course, Schwarber gets the big banger out there. I don't know if you guys noticed. That guy's just a killer. You know, Sharpie and I talked about that, and him as an MVP candidate, very much still in play. What else is going on here? I mentioned the CFL. Hey, we cashed some soccer yesterday. Cashed a couple of soccer parlays in the women's Euros. That was the ugliest shootout I've ever seen. It was hard to watch. Fortunately, we had gotten our money. We were in and out. Matter of fact, we cashed 3 parlays yesterday. So I'm excited about that. Big front going on here with the winnable side of the house there. Free plays. You guys want to make sure you sign up for those. In fact, I'm going to drop the link in the chat because you don't want to miss it. You know, we cashed another free play. Parlays have been firing. It's just been good stuff. And I want to make sure you guys get involved. So the cool part, text alerts. get those text alerts. You don't miss the action when we drop it. I'm going to put that link right there in the chat for everybody to get involved. If you want to get out there and support, there's certainly some packages to get involved with. There will be more options, but you don't want to miss out on the free plays. Just because they're free doesn't mean they're not quality. We're cashing, we're kicking butt, we're taking names. My voice is a little scratchy today, but hey, this is the way we're going to do it tonight. We've got ourselves our friend of the program down there in Las Vegas. Andrew Babikitis will be joining us 6:45. He's going to talk UFC. He's going to talk UFC 318. He's going to give us a look behind the counter. Where's the sharp action going? And of course, Q&A. He wants to answer any questions that are within reason that you guys can bring forward. So don't hesitate. Let's see what you guys have from a question perspective. We'll talk about some betting. I'll tell you what, I'm learning as we incorporate Andrew into the programming here. And it's a big controversy. I've been cashing on it. I don't think it's controversy anymore, but the old school MMA guard does have this philosophy about dogs versus sharp betting. And I know Andrew's been able to flip the apple cart for us, and I'm excited about it. So anyhow, we're going to talk San Diego and the Nationals. We're going to talk San Francisco and Toronto, Cincinnati and the Mets. We're going to go Tigers and Rangers. We'll go St. Louis and Arizona. A parlay. I put a challenge down. Well, Fanatics challenged me. Wasted my time. Go out to the app. Play I forgot what they call it. Fan cash drop or fan drop cat. I don't know. I did it. They gave me a $5 fucking bonus. I was like, what? You going to challenge me? So I'm going to roll over. Rolled over the first leg. I cashed that. Was a 4-leg same game parlay. First 5 under 4.5 in that Cubs game. Cubs. Corner to get a hit. And the full game under 8.5. $5 turned into 30. $29.50 to be exact. I'm rolling it over. And I got the parlay in play here with you guys here tonight. I've also got a same game or a player prop parlay. So I'll give that to you guys here. We've had some success starting the show off with that. And as I mentioned, 35 minutes to bring in our friend Andrew and talk UFC 318. Should be a great fight card. 14 fights, as a matter of fact. It's a big one. They they couldn't get it right last week, but I'll try to do it this week. So thank you guys all for coming back here. The All-Star break felt like it was forever. But let's take a look. Let's start this thing off. Let's take a peek at what's going on here. I'm going to share with you guys exactly where we stand. We got to figure out where we need to do damage. Oops. Let's do it this way. There we go. Let's try it like this. Hopefully you guys can see this here. Tennis. 1-1, no money. No one in tennis here. So we'll look to attack. I got a couple spots there. I like live bet in tennis more than I think giving out pre-plays because they look so damn good and the trends are not our friends in tennis. There's our CFL record. We're 2-3 in the CFL. Plays all given out here on Pregaming or via the YouTube channel. MLB, 106 units. Very proud of the MLB work that we've put in to start the season. And there it is, 15.9% ROI, the strongest growing vehicle in all of finance right now. Sports Money's MLB plays here on Pregaming. MLS, we cashed the parlays yesterday. I gave over unwinnable, so they weren't pre-gaming plays in all official fairness. I don't know what's going on with a couple of these. I think this is when we first started here, but we go down and we see the WNBA, just over 6 units in the WNBA, 34-26. I think pre-All-Star break there was pretty much a split. I think we went like 2-1 one day, 1-2 the next day, and I don't know, maybe 3-4, give or take. So that's the way we stand right now. We dig in, we look at Major League Baseball to kick this thing off. Again, no recap for really yesterday's show because there was no show yesterday. But what we can see here are game props. We've got to figure those out. That is the first 5 team totals, that kind of stuff is what the game props are. So we got to dig in there. Just over 33 units, almost 34 units on sides. You'll see that we're doing a pretty decent job when it comes to sides. Parlays have been kicking for us. Just over 8 units on the parlay side, sub 500, but positive because we're taking plus money shots, turning those negatives into positives. Player props, those are our RBI action, and those have been kicking butt, taking names. Spreads, those are the run lines. Just about 500, but just down 3 units on that, so we'll hone in on that the second half of the season, and then totals. Almost 68 units on over-under bets as we roll forward. I don't know what's going on with the scratchy voice. I'm not sure. Too much time at the old hookah lounge on the break, I guess. But that's the deal. Those are real numbers, real deal activity going on here at BetStamp. And you don't need to see the scoreboard. There's no scores going on right now. So excited about what's happening here. We got a big second half. Guys, I'm really excited about the UFC here. Little revamped structure based on your guys' feedback. And last week I thought it went pretty well. Going to have some new graphics. Going to have a new intro. New. Unfortunately, we did discontinue the playbook, at least for the time being. We just weren't getting the love. You know, we're putting the time and effort in for 5 likes, and it's no slight to anybody. Appreciate you guys that did hit the likes, but a lot of time and effort involved, and frankly, 5 likes hurts us. So we can't be rolling out 5 likes. So you'll find those plays over on Winnable. MMA Jeff's got his UFC action. He'll be releasing. He's already got some plays out there on Winnable. I'll have UFC action. I went 1-1 with the player prop parlays last week in Winnable. I did catch my first strike play. Was plus 185. So first strike is out there. You can catch 3 breakdowns from myself, MMA Jeff, and Subhuman Gaucho. Pretty excited for this UFC card. A lot of conversation going on back and forth about what that's going to look like here. I think we've got some really good spots. So we'll continue to load up the old Winnable site for you guys to get some of those best bets and free plays. We're not discontinuing the free plays whatsoever. What else? VB MMA and Ramon Scott have their UFC card out there, 3-fight breakdown there. So there's 6 fights broken down over the 14-fight card for you guys to take advantage of early. I will point out, when I was a special guest last week in the VB MMA and Ramon show, I did catch the island play that I was on. We all like Garcia, but I was on an island with Walker, whoever it is. So I'm excited. For that. That was pretty good stuff. So yeah, you guys, make sure you get your questions in the chat. Let me know what you guys want me to talk to Andrew about. I will make sure we bring those up on the screen. It's all about us. We're trying to learn. We're trying to build. We're trying to grow. And we have to be careful. We have to be cognizant of the fact that we're just coming back from the All-Star break. You know, I was talking with a couple of guys here over the break just about, we go into the All-Star break, and frankly, I fell victim to it. I think we went 2-1 on Saturday and 1-2 on Sunday for MLB plays. Tread lightly. Going to tread lightly here. But I do see some action that I really like, so I want to get involved with that. I actually added a play as well. We'll talk a little bit about Cleveland and Oakland. We'll have a play out there for that. Got some great trends in play here tonight. Very excited about sharing those with you as well. But you know the deal. It's back to the grind. My man Ramon Scott popped off this morning at 9:20-ish or whenever it is that he actually turns his camera on. But we're back. We're ready to attack. We're going to start the UFC live stream tomorrow. It'll be about 5:55-ish or so, a few minutes before the first fight. And we'll give you guys our breakdowns there. But before we go any further, this is the time for you guys to show your support. We talked about likes on the videos. Need them likes. Need them. Love. Show the love. Show the support. But in show, this is the time where you smash that thumbs up button. Post show, comments. You guys do a tremendous job with that. I want to shout out Kelly B on her way to 2K comments. Man, she'll probably be there by this weekend at this rate. So appreciate all you guys that are supporters, all of you that found a way to either become a member, upgrade, help us grow this thing out there. No big business supporting us here. We do really, truly rely on viewer support. So the most important thing you can do is smash that thumbs up button. Take a second if you haven't done so already. Give it a click and we'll get this thing going. All right. Ready, set, go. You know the deal. It's pen and paper out time. This is my favorite part of the show. I love to talk about the plays that you guys are on. I'm going to check in with all you guys that are checking back in with me here post All-Star break. We are down to just a couple of weeks away from preseason football. And I do want to make an announcement. There will be a retirement tomorrow. There will be a big retirement tomorrow that we will do live. We're going to do it live on the Sports Money UFC channel. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sad to see him go, but big retirement announcement coming up. It's not a retirement match. It's just a big retirement. You don't want to miss it. You're going to want to tune in and be a part of it. But shout out to my guy, Flea Mathis. Nicholas Handy says, you put money in my pockets. Cubs in the under was a big plus money score for us. Wasn't that, brother? Let's go. Amazing Grab 40's in the house. Says hello. Hello, Amazing Grab 40. Appreciate you checking in with us. David Wallace, Blake M. Giving everyone good blessings and tidings on their action tonight. Dana Delp says, let's go. Nathan Cerna's in the house. Appreciate Nathan Cerna dropping. Says, you're good. Appreciate that, man. I think he's talking about my audio or my scratchy voice. There's my guy Gonzo. Gonzo in the house. Make sure you follow him at Model Ranger Picks. Model Ranger Bets, excuse me, over on X. Nathan Cerna. Glad my action is back. Me too. Shout out to Justin McCovey. Says sports money is money. There's Joe Dub in the house. My guy Joe's here. Peter Gracia. Nasty Nate says the Red Sox didn't smash. No, they did not. Thank goodness. A lot of people were on that. In all fairness, Nasty Nate, Giolito standing on his head, world beating. And he comes into this thing as a dog? That's a suspect spot. That was a sus line for sure. There was a 17-0 trend and a 22-0 trend on them Cubbies. Some cash. Let's go. Cash to Chef, second round leaderboard. How could I not mention the U.S. Open? Scotty Scheffler makes it no fun. And I don't know if you guys saw the rain conditions there for the afternoon groups. Man, it was pouring. It was just raining it was raining straight up from the ground up. It was crazy. And Scotty Scheffler does what Scotty Scheffler does. Now, Jeff and I released our top 20s, top 10s, top 5s, first round leaders. Did a little sprinkle on Matty Fitzpatrick. Unfortunately, it was a 5-way tie for first round leaders. So I got 20% of 5,500. Still better than a stick in the eye, as my old man used to say. Shout out to JM. Giolito walks in and out. Here's that winnable link, you guys. Make sure you check that out. Peter Gracia says, so sick of DraftKings. Fuckers burnt me by a hook. Oh, no. Yeah, it dropped. It dropped right before the game. Right before the game. And then the best part is I gave out for the free play on Winnable, Montreal in the under, 51.5. Man, I was sweating when it was 26. I had a feeling they were coming back. I had a feeling. Scum Blaster says bank cash drop is rigged. There's my guy Barry. There's Keith. Each and every strike. Keith's got a big roll going tomorrow. The Haskins. Go out there and make sure you check out Keith and what he's doing live out there. Gonna go live. Keith is. Tarek B. Ask him about favorites that go into bust everyone's parlay in UFC tomorrow. I will. That's a great question. Which UFC favorite will bust everybody's parlay? And Amazing Grab says, is the unders heavy after the All-Star break? I got a couple heavy All-Star break trends for you guys to consider. We'll talk about those. Shout out to AOD's in the house. Juggler 23's here. Irish King. Scotty, the greatest golfer, and it's not even close. Was he wearing a hoodie today? Couldn't believe it. I thought he was wearing a hoodie. Just watched him come out there wearing a hoodie. What? By the way, if you guys haven't seen Stick over on Amazon or Apple, excuse me, it's a good watch. It's a good watch with Owen Wilson. And Nestle says he thinks Ilya calls out Dustin if he wins to put the BMF belt up against his belt. Well, Dustin's in the retirement match. Dustin's supposed to be in the retirement match. You know, they like to fade guys in retirement matches, but he has taken down Max Holloway in back-to-back battles. Kind of like, was it Katie O'Toole there, the boxer, where they were like, can she win 3 times in a row? I'll tell you what's going to be cool is Dustin's got Lil Wayne coming out. And apparently he's going to be singing The Boss, little James Brown action in that battle. So cap it all. Axel G says, have the plays been said? Axel G, we're going to get going, my guy. You're just in time. Appreciate everybody that has rocked it. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. It is time for us to get to work. So let's do just that now. Feel like I'm missing something. Feel like I missed something along the way, but it's all right. It's a work in progress. Lots of games on the card tonight, you guys. If you're new here, what we do here is we look at some cash flow splits, the line trends. We try to look at whether it be injury analysis, just batter versus pitcher, all the factors that we can to try to look at how we're going to get paid. I skipped the Pirates and the White Sox game. I like the White Sox in that game. The Angels and Phillies. I got that over earlier this morning at 8.5. It's at 9. I took the over. We had 92% of the bets, 94% of the cash on the over in the Angels-Phillies game, but it's now moved to 9, and it's got a little juice on it on top of that. So Phillies are big favorites. You know, the funny thing is the Angels have found themselves in a over situation as a team. 50, 42, and 3 to the over. That's the third highest over rate in Major League Baseball. So them Angels, them bats, I've been talking about how I have an affinity for those Angels bats. Not so much their pitching staff, but their bats. And it's hot. And of course, when you look at it, the Phillies at home, they're crushing. They're world beaters. 5.11 runs per game at home. So I like the 8.5 better than the 9. I mean, I still could get down with the 9. I just found some better trends, some stronger opportunities for us to get paid. So, excuse me. It's Dylan Cease on the bump for the San Diego Padres. This game starts at 6:45, so 20 minutes to go. And we've got ourselves 80% of the bets and 85% of the cash on the Padres here. This line went from minus 171 to minus 150. That's called a reverse line movement. But the Sharps don't care. We typically look at the percentage of bets, correlate those to the public. It's all the tickets being written. It's props, it's parlays, it's teasers, it's $5 bets, $1 bets, $10 bets, the $1 parlay that's as long as your arm that I'm a fan of. I'll hit one of these days. And it's all rolled into the soup, right? It's everything that goes into it. Then we look at the percentage of money, the cash, and we typically see that as the bigger bettors, sometimes the sharper bettors, the syndicates, the bigger groups trying to move numbers. Then we look to see, based on that information, how are the books responding? And the books don't care. They like Soroka, who we'll talk about in a second. This total, 88% of the bets, 89% of the cash are on this over. It has not moved from 8.5. In fact, it is juiced to the under. At first pass, that tells me we might have a pitching battle here, which is impressive because both these guys have been subpar, to say the least, to start this thing off. Now, they're both righties. Dylan Cease rolls in here at 3-9 on the season. You know, the records aren't necessarily indicative of their action because they only go 5 innings. But point is, Dylan Cease has been getting touched up. He's got a 4.88 ERA, and he's got runners out there like crazy. His whip is 1.33. He's putting ducks on the pond. Soroka's not much better. He's got the 5.35 ERA and a 1.16 whip. He's got a 5.67 ERA at home. Not picking up wins. Soroka's last start, he goes 4 innings. In fact, he's been going 4 innings his last couple of goes out there, and he's getting hit. He let up 7 runs against Boston, at home on top of that. Then he fires it back. He gets hit 4 times for 2 runs, 4 strikeouts against St. Louis. And I think when you look on the other side of things with Dylan Cease, you can argue that Dylan Cease are his better days behind him. I'm not entirely sure, but I know this. Soroka, 9 earned runs on 8 innings pitched, 13 hits and 4 walks in July. 2 starts in July. He's letting up runs. He's putting runners on. He's walking everybody. He's showing 0 command and control. And he struggles against lefties, which is going to be problematic because this Padres lineup has lefties. He's got an 835 OPS, 8 home runs. That means you probably want to look at Louis Urias, probably the biggest lefty hitter out there in this lineup tonight. Second, so he's very much alive for RBIs. He's got a 289, a 733 against righties. So not the fairest of starts before the All-Star break, but I think this is that time where these guys reset. Some of these teams that are underachievers, like the Dodgers, we'll talk about them a little bit later. Hint, hint, parlay. Time to wake the fuck up. What are you doing? And on the other side of things, the Dylan Cease piece here struggled to start the year, but man, since June, 51 strikeouts out there, 39.2 innings. He's doing his job out there. And look, plenty of opportunity for him to be in a positive position. His line has gotten steamed when it comes to strikeouts. It went from 5.5 to 6.5. So they're expecting, I think it correlates to this total and how these things are going down here. They're expecting, I think, a battle between these two pitchers. First game back from the All-Star break. Everyone's got to dust off the rust and try to get back in the game here. But for me, I'm going to go with the Padres -1. I looked at this. I know maybe I'm in the minority with this side of things here, but there's a couple mitigating factors that are just too strong to neglect. First and foremost, The NL West has been dominant against the NL East. 213 and 174 is a big sample size to show that a little bit of inkling towards the NL West, and they've won 6 in a row. We talked about this to start the season. Fading the Nationals in series openers. You're 50 and 15. They're not a good start. And why? Because you got your ace in Soroka. And I just talked about his numbers. 9 earned runs on 8 innings in his last 2 starts, 13 hits and 4 walks. He's not matching up well, and you're going up against a guy in Dylan Cease that can go out there and battle. Furthermore, to compound things even worse than that 50 and 15 start for the Nats in series openers, if you fade them against the NL, in general, they suck. They're 124 and 77 in the fade. It's cashed 14 straight times. Fading them boys out there. I'm with the Sharps here. I think the bigger money's coming in on the Padres, and they don't care. They understand these numbers. They see how this thing correlates, and they're dialed in. I realize I skipped this parlay, so let me get to it real quick. I meant to say I was going to start this thing off with it. Let me fire this off real quick for you guys. Parlays have been firing. It's the triple P. It's the player prop parlay. We're going to go Cannon under 16.5 outs. Dylan Cease 6+ strikeouts. Luzardo over 6.5 strikeouts. Lodolo under 2.5 earned runs. And Carlos Correa 2+ hits, runs, and RBIs. It's a plus 1124, a little over 11 to 1. Cannon for the White Sox under 16.5 outs. Dylan Cease 6+ strikeouts for San Diego. Luzardo over 6.5 Ks for the Phillies. Lodolo under 2.5 earned runs for the Reds. And Correa 2+ hits, runs, and RBIs plus 1124. Meant to get that out there. Okay. That's going to be the first play of the card. We got to pick up pace already. Already. That's fine. It's Friday. The sun's out. I'm feeling good. Ready to go. Ready to have a fucking weekend. I'm fired up for this UFC card. I could make 100 plays. I'm not going to. I could. I'm not going to. Feel really confident about a bunch of them. And go back and watch First Strike because I know I think he's rolling 4-1 on his last 5 in First Strike. And man, I just came off that big plus 185 bomber out there. We're ready. We're dialed in. We're seeing things pretty clearly. Let's go on to San Francisco and the Toronto Blue Jays in this battle here. We'll look at the stats real quick. We'll look at this San Francisco. Minus 143, the Jays opened up. This is an oscillating line. What I mean by oscillating is it's gone from minus 143 to minus 140, right? So it's coming down on the Jays, but it's gone up on the Giants from plus 118 to plus 123. It's kind of oscillating, right? It's not really giving us a tell. 79% of the bets and 76% of the cash on the Toronto Blue Jays. And pitching stats, we got to look at those. We look a little bit at this battle of Verlander and Bassett. Now, right off the surface, Verlander's 0-7 with that 4.7 ERA and a 1.42 whip. Struggle. And San Francisco, not the run factory. 2 runs their last game, 1 run the game before that. They did get an 8. They got shut out against the Phillies. There's that shutout factor. You get shut out. They fired right back and beat the Dodgers 8-7. They're struggling to get to 3 runs a game. And that is an issue when you're facing a pitcher like Bassett. The old Bassett Hound at home is 9-1 in his last 10. And this is an important one. Think about this as you look at the card tonight. Home favorites in game 1 of a series are 96 and 50. I'm taking the Blue Jays in this spot here. I think this is a good opportunity for us to get some Jays money. It's a little juicy, but I think this juice is worth the squeeze. Like I said, we got Bassett overall performance here, and this is a big one too. We got to try to find data when how do we cap these teams coming back from the All-Star break? Better teams over 500 prevail, 93 and 37. That's almost a 3-to-1 ratio. Post All-Star break, the better teams that are over 500. So not the better teams like you're dealing with the White Sox and the Rockies. That's going to be thrown out the window. But good teams over 500, 93 and 37. The better team does get the job done. And we know that the Toronto Blue Jays are winning the AL East right now. They're leading the AL East. Couldn't be much better than that. 9-1 in its last 10 on top of it. Give me the Jays. Give me the mover here. Let's see what you guys have to say here. We got to move quickly. Let's go. Padres over 8.5 in Justin's pocket. AOD says the mechanic, a.k.a. the wrench. Let's go. Justin McCalvey says, Nate Lowe over 1.5 bases for plus 165. Cool. He likes Mike Trout over 1.5 bases at plus 125 for Justin McCalvey. Jay Main says, Phillies, no one-run games at home since early May. That's how I was trying to read that as first innings. Nerfies. That's not the case. Jay Main likes Willie Castro to get a home run. Jay Main says Dylan is deceased on the road. And it says the Padres 9-2-1 to the over as road favorites. Justin likes the Blue Jays minus 130 when he got it. Springer, RBI plus 170. Fixer. Got to look at the Blue Jays have played versus San Francisco. Stop Geoengineering. My guy's in the house checking in. There's Peter Gracia, loves the Jays at home. Stop Geo's hype for the UFC draw. Me too, my friend. Me too. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be fun. New graphics, new intro. You don't want to miss that. Retirement. There's a big retirement tomorrow as well, so can't wait to. We got a lot of, and we're going to do a giveaway. Do a little duck race giveaway for our members. Cincinnati and the Mets. I got a double dipper in this game here. I'll put it up on the screen and we'll keep this thing rolling. I got a sandwich in that spot that I made there as well. Stop Geo says the Nats are 14-1 to the over in their last 15, but dicey weather tonight has me off this one. Okay. Looking at this Reds game here, 76% of the bet, 75% of the cash coming in on the Mets, and it's gone down 172 to minus 158. So you got about a 14-cent drop. It's correlated. The line went down 9 cents on the Reds. They opened up as 144s. They're now 135s. Total's dropping. It's gone from 8 to 7.5. That's a key number. We're going to talk about that in a second. 90% of the bets and 85% of the cash on the over, it gone down. Reverse line movement. In fact, it's juiced to the under. You can get the over 7.5 at even money with all that money coming in. And it is Lodolo. It is Manaea. The Mets shit the bed is the easiest way to say it. Everybody was giving them the world's, well, I don't say everybody. Our friends. Our Mets friends. We're crowning them World Series champions in May. Look at what they're doing. Look at how they're doing it. Look at this. Look at that. Look at the other thing. Look at this. We do have a lefty situation. You guys know I like these unders when we see these lefties. That's an immediate spot that pops off the card to me. Lefty on lefty, particularly, is a spot that I get excited about. That's what we have tonight. Lodolo and Manaea. But the Mets think against lefties, and the Reds open up series great against lefties. That's how I got to the Reds. I think it's a great price tag, too. Look, lefties, Reds series openers versus lefties. So think about this. Starting pitchers, 1 versus 1, right? Traditionally. The All-Star break's a little funky because these guys are, they like their 5 days rest. They like to pitch in rotations. But for all argument's sake, the Reds' best pitcher versus whoever they're playing's best pitcher, if it's a lefty, the Reds are 36-14 in series openers. They've won 7 in a row. And to correlate, if you fade the Mets against lefties, you're 74-43. The Mets don't hit lefties. You want to fade teams that are now. Some of these are a little bit. I'll validate. It's hard to say. Like a team off of a 6-game roadie that's now the home team in the season after you're changing locations after 6 games. Yeah, you want to probably fade them. They're 244 and 237 if you're fading. But road dogs against lefties when it's between 7.5 and 9.5. I'm sorry, no, excuse me. Road dog. I mentioned the 7.5 being the key number. I got to get back into the rhythm. Road dogs against lefties on a 7.5, 75 and 39 to the under. So that's the way I attack this one. I take the Reds in the series opener against lefties, and I got the first 5 under 4. This came down from 4.5. It correlates with that movement to 7.5. So that's the way the cookie's going to crumble for me in this game. I like the spot. I thought about the Reds' first 5. I decided to go with the first 5 under instead of double dipping on the Reds. I don't want to go all in on the Reds. I've seen the Reds choke their nuts up, and it's not a spot I want to be involved with. I don't have a graphic for this. I added this late. Excuse me. There's that. Oh, there's allergies? I don't know what the hell's going on. The Athletics line. This line came down 18 cents. The Guardians were minus 143 favorites. They're now minus 125. 73% of the bet, 62% of the cash are on the Guardians. This 8.5's moved to 8 with 94% of the bets and 90% of the cash on the over. Surprisingly, all that talk about Sacramento being an over stadium and the Athletics benefiting from that, it's about 500. It's not really the advantage that I thought they would have. Now, Slade Ciccone is on the bump for the Guardians with a 3.44 ERA. J.P. Sears, is he their best pitcher? He's got a 4.79 ERA. First pass, I looked at the athletics in this game. I did a little bit of a deeper dive. Found some interesting trends, particularly resulting in Cleveland. First of all, two lower scoring teams on night games. I mentioned the athletics being 50-50 at home for their totals, because it does qualify them overall with the road travel as a lower scoring team. And Cleveland certainly falls into that mark. Jose Ramirez, every time I bet him, shits the bed. Decided to foul out of the All-Star game to give a young up-and-comer in Caminero a shot, who almost won the damn home run derby. Cal Raleigh got it, though. It feels like it was fixed. The father-son, brother combo gets to advance from the first round by an inch. Who measured that inch is what I want to know. Anyhow, when you have two lower scoring teams and the total's between a 7.5 and a 9.5, so it's not a Coors factor, right? It's not a 10 or 11 where the wind's blowing out and they're expecting runs. When those two lower scoring teams meet at night, it gets a little cooler. Ball doesn't travel as far. It's 41-9-2 to the under. It's cashed 7 of the last 10 times. And then, furthermore, because of where Cleveland falls in the United States, close to them Great Lakes, the Guardians of the Great Lakes, home night unders are 107-63. It's cashed 10 times in a row. We got reverse line movement. We got a good factor looking at this thing here. I'm going to go in. I'm going to take these boys. I'm going to take that under. We're going to keep it moving. We got our boy joining us here in just a couple of mementos. So let's go Detroit and Texas Rangers. Detroit, Texas Rangers. I'll tell you what, I like the Braves in that Braves-Yankees game. That gone from -101 to -134. It's getting a little pricey now to back them Atlanta Braves, but it does look like a fade spot for the Yankees. However, 66% of the cash has come in on those Yankees, gone from -120 to +116. I think what happened is I looked at that line, is them boys saw this Yankees line becoming a plus dog, and they said the Braves shouldn't be a -135 favorite. That's essentially how I read that. It is Spencer Strider. He's graded very high from a strikeout perspective tonight, so keep that in mind as you're kind of looking at that game. The Tigers and Rangers, though, 67% of the bets, 67% of the cash on the Tigers. It's come down 20 cents. The Rangers, in fact, have now moved to pretty much a coin flip. It's -105s. The 8.5s have not moved. 92% of the bets and 90% of the cash. Smacking that over. The juice to the under. Or even money, coin flip, right? -110s. You can find some even monies on the over out there. I think the big thing here is it's Reese Olson and it's Patrick Corbin. I want to take an opportunity to fade Patrick Corbin, not because it's Patrick Corbin Day. The guy's got a 3.79 ERA at home. You can't argue with that. And he's been going 5 innings. It's not like he's getting clipped. But he's given up hits. He pitches to a lot of contact. His last 5 games pre-All-Star break gave up 6 hits, 9 hits, 8 hits, 6 hits, and 7 hits. He's given up at least 2 runs, 4, 5, 3, 2, and 2, and homers. 4 homers in 5 games, 1 a pop. This goes back to one of those spots that I talked to you guys about there a few minutes ago. When we're looking at this thing here, post All-Star break, the better team over 500. We talked about that a few minutes ago with the San Diego Padres. Also, here's somebody asked earlier about the second half factors. The better team on the road in the second half of the season are 93-47. All good numbers for me. I like the bullpen. I think the best bullpen potentially in baseball with these Tigers. Not Scooble, because he went out there in the All-Star break and kicked things off out there. Paul Skeens. Get run support in the All-Star break. That poor son of a bitch. Let's not feel too bad, though. He's got Libby done at home. What up to Markel says, where's the NBA season at? NBA All-Star. I don't have anything fucking around with that. I didn't mess in. I didn't get in the game. Stacks has got the Lodolo over 5.5 strikeouts plus 5.5 in his pocket. Kind of collabed a little bit with our guy Sharpie to get the under 2.5 earned runs. Last game on the card, then we'll talk about this rollover. Then we'll bring our guy in here, and we will keep this train moving. We've got the St. Louis Cardinals, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've got some other action I'm looking at for this later window. I just don't want to commit to it right now. There's an injury factor I'm looking at with Yandy Diaz on this Houston team. That's got me a little perplexed, to say the least. Look, we're in Arizona. We're in the desert. It's nighttime. It's dry. It's hot. And the balls fly. This game opened up at minus 119 for the Diamondbacks, though. They have come down to minus 108. And you have 63% of the bets and 58% of the cash. So essentially, some of the bigger money is coming in on them Cardinals, thinking the Cardinals are going to take down these Diamondbacks. This line opened at 8.5. Still some 8.5s with a little juice. We're seeing 9s. That's the kind of trigger that we wanted to see, as 69% of the bets and 76% of the cash are on the over. It's gone from 8.5 to 9. It's ground Chuck Morton, Charlie Morton. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong. What's going on? Oh, I see what happened. Wait a minute, it's not ground Chuck. It's not ground Chuck. Hang on. Some games popped off, and all hell broke loose here on the old website. Palante and Fox. Fox got the 5.16 ERA. Palante's got the 4.49 ERA. I'll just keep it simple with you guys here. Again, the desert does have a balls flying factor since June. So not quite second half of the year, but once we get to the dry spell, the overs in Arizona are 77 and 33. That goes back to June of last year. So June of last year through the end of the season to June of this year to now, 77 and 33 to the overs. At nighttime, it's exceptionally over, 194 and 138 to the over. And when Arizona finds themselves in the home favorite role, 57 and 31 to the over. So I get that this line's come down a little bit on that last factor here, but I took the 8.5. I'm going to ride that train. I don't want to argue. I don't want to debate it. Let's just keep it rolling. Let's take that 8.5. Let's punch the bookie in the mouth. Perfect timing as I say that. Our boy pops in here. I'll be right there. We're going to keep this thing rolling, guys. Last spot. I jumped on Twitter earlier today. I commented. I said, Fanatics wanted to play with my emotions. They give me a $5 bonus. So I rolled that 4-leg parlay. Cashed it. I'm going to roll it over again. All in. I don't know what the stop number will be, but we'll see if we can't get a 10-leg rollover. Last spot for me on the card here. I'm going to go with the Dodgers parlayed with the Minnesota Twins. The Twins are playing against the Colorado Rockies. You know, this one to me came down to sharp betting. We saw preseason the Sharps were banging on the Twins to win the AL Central. We know the Twins win in bunches. They kind of finished that all-star run in a winning streak out there, and it's the Rockies. What do we have to say? That's like the worst team in baseball, right? Not a matter of opinion. It's a fact. And we got some dudes like Correa, Castro, playing at Coors, the ball should be flying. Buxton coming back from the All-Star break. Shout out to the Phillies. It looks like they're trying to make a push. They asked Buxton at the All-Star break what he thought about being traded. He said, I got a no-trade clause, dude. I'm a Twin for life. But the Phillies are being aggressive, trying to make a move out there. So I'm going to take the Twins as the first leg of this thing. And then, you know, the Brewers, I think they overexcelled in that first half of the season. And I think the Dodgers find themselves in one of those situational spots where you got to wake the fuck up. It's the second half of the season. You've played poorly in that first half. You're supposed to go out there and win the World Series year in and year out. You got one of the biggest payrolls on staff in Major League Baseball. It's the Dodgers that are going to take a clubbing to them Milwaukee Brewers tonight for the rollover. That's the way that cookie's going to crumble. And we're going to bring our guy on here. It looks like he's ready to roll. He's going to check in. Our friend of the program rolling in with us down there at the old Superbook in Las Vegas. The risk manager checking in from behind the counter, our guy, Andrew Babakidis. Andrew, happy eve of a pay-per-view event, my friend. How you feeling?
Man, I'm really looking forward to this card. I know there's probably 6 or 7 fights that are, you know, pretty juicy price-wise, but other than that, it's a really solid card. Think there's going to be a lot of finishes tomorrow, so yeah, man, I'm excited for a good UFC card, and yeah, I mean, glad to have some sports back. It's been a slow couple of days for sure.
It has been a slow couple. What does it look like in Las Vegas when everything's on a break and all you've got is the WNBA kicking around there? How does that impact the books?
Well, we have Summer League, which is pretty popular since that's right down the street from us. So that's been at least something to keep an eye on. I actually went on Monday,
right.
so it was fun. Yeah, I had a good time, and the action for that is it's pretty decent just because there's nothing else going on. But right now we're pretty much just gearing up for the NFL season and college football. Like I think I mentioned it, but the contest, a lot of contest signups right now, and yeah, a lot of just getting ready for NFL season, getting all of the games up weeks 2 through 18, just a bunch of stuff with the NFL.
Well, you changed my thinking process. I've been stewing on it for the last maybe 5 or 6 days when you and I were backstage after last week's show about the future betting and how you can get bigger limits down, right? So that's mostly the advantage of the future betting when it comes to series. And I've been thinking about that. That's been kicking around in this squash of mine for the last 5 or 6 days, thinking, am I missing the boat? Do I have to reconsider my thought process here? Anything that came in sharp, not to put you on the fly, but anything sharp that came in for future betting for the second half of baseball season that you maybe heard about from the boys behind the counter?
Well, I mean, I could just tell you based off of liabilities, we're going to be rooting against the Mets down the stretch. That's one of the teams we'll be rooting against.
Me too.
Along with that, I mean, basically we're in a pretty bad spot on a bunch of the Detroit futures division and stuff. We're not going to do well on that, but yeah, the World Series is not too terrible for them, but pennant's not great, and those futures are pretty rough. But yeah, we have some big liabilities on a couple of the season-long, totals that we'll be sweating out as the time comes closer. So those are probably the two that I can think of off the top of my head. I know the Mets, that's the one that's real, like it's right around the number that it closed. I think it was like 89.5. And yeah, I mean, they're a little above pace, but we're going to be rooting for them to, have a tough little stretch here.
Well, I faded them tonight, so I'm going to try to help you guys there and see if we can get that one to victory here. But hey, let's talk UFC 318. Love to hear your action. What's going on behind the counter? Where's the liability? We do have some great questions that came in that I'll fire off at you here, but the car's all gassed up. I'm going to give you the screen here and run away with it, my friend. Talk to us about where the damage can be done.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just try to go quickly from the bottom of the card with anything that I noticed that is at least notable. I know it's hard to talk about some of these fights that are, $5 or $6. Typically, I've kind of shared with you guys and some of the other shows that I go on that these are the kind of cards where, especially with these big price tags, we get a lot of the sharp action day of the fight or, this evening after the weight cuts and stuff. Especially with these big dogs, we'll start to see some people realizing like there's a ceiling for some of these favorites, right? So they might cap Kevin Holland at -700, and then these guys might have a spot where they're willing to bet these dogs when they think that the favorites maxed out on price. But a lot of these big favorites so far, it's been a lot of parlay liability, less laying the price, and then we haven't had a ton of buyback with a lot of these big underdogs. But like I said, I'll start from the bottom of the card and just quickly go through some of the fights and then get to some of the more notable fights. We'll start with the Judice fight. We opened that one at -250 on Judice, which was clearly quite off. There's been a lot of Judice love this week. We're currently sitting -420, so that one's almost moved 200 cents. We did get hit by like a massive parlay last week. Mid 5-figure bet between Kevin Holland parlayed with Judice. So just to start off the week, we already had that liability with Judice, and it's just kind of been stacking on. Not so much money line, like I said, more parlays. But yeah, we're going to need one of these $4 favorites to lose if we're going to have a winning day from our booking perspective. We'll go on to the Span versus Bresky fight. We opened up Span at -230. It got as high as -260, but there has been some Bresky love. here and within the market where the price hasn't gotten too inflated on Span. Span is a tougher fighter to trust as people who have followed the sport know that he's kind of put himself in some tough situations in the past. And, he's not a guy that most are willing to, lay a $3 price tag. In any circumstances, really. So, yeah, even against Bresky, there's been some resistance, which is nice for us to get some bets on the dogs. But, yeah, early sharp money on Span with some good resistance. Crute versus Prackmeow. We opened Jimmy Crute minus 250. Right as we opened it, we did get a big respected bet on that Jimmy Crute side. Now we're currently sitting minus 350 on Jimmy Crute. So that one's moved 100 cents, and that was a very large play on Crute where, we've done our best to try to write some money back on that one, at least early, because we know that these favorites are going to just, be tagged in every single parlay, and it's only going to get worse as we get closer to the fights, right? Because most of the public money is going to be coming in tomorrow. We'll go a little bit higher on the card. Vettori versus Allen. We opened up Allen at minus 260. It got as high as 275. There's been some Vettori love for sure this week, which is, one of the only dogs that's been really respected so far. They're betting him pretty heavily. We got hit at plus 225, plus 200. So that price has moved quite a bit. Brendan Allen opened, like I said, minus 260. We're currently sitting minus 190. So that one's been a good one for us to book in the perspective of actually getting some dog money. Probably the most entertaining one so far this week has been this Vinicius fight versus Kyler Phillips. There's been a lot of respected action on that Phillips side. We opened Vinicius at minus 175. It got as high as minus 190, but there's been respected action all week on the Phillips side. We're currently sitting minus 140 on Vinicius, so a lot further under where we opened it. Personally, I know I don't really typically talk about what I like, but I like the Vinicius side, and I think as we get closer to the fight, that one's going to maybe start inflating back up to where we opened it, closer to that 170 range. I mean, that's total speculation, but I personally like that side. I think the longer that fight goes, the more it favors Vinicius. And we did take a respected bet on the over 2.5. Somebody came in and laid a big amount on the minus 180 on the over 2.5. All right. We'll go a few more fights. Ige versus Pitbull. That's been pretty much one-way action on Dan Ige. We opened this one at minus 155. It's currently sitting minus 230. This is another one where I wouldn't be shocked if some Pitbull money comes in tomorrow, just because I don't think the market was that wrong from what the opening price was. I think Pitbull is due to give a much better performance than his first fight in the UFC. And, Ige has been on a good run, and he's a tough out for anybody. But I think if you're getting Pitbull 2-1 or higher, I honestly don't hate that bet. And I'm honestly expecting to see some Patrice Pitbull money tomorrow. So that would not surprise me. And then we'll go the last couple of fights. Costa versus Kopylov. We opened up Kopylov at 260. It got as high as minus 270. This is one where kind of like similar to last week, we when we talked about Lewis, I know that Costa is a fan favorite, so I'm expecting some more Costa money tomorrow. But you can clearly see that there's been some Costa money in the marketplace as this price has come down quite a bit. We're sitting minus 220 now on Kopylov. So there hasn't been much respected action here on Costa, but it's definitely shown market-wide that there's been some Costa love out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Costa love tomorrow, just as he is a fan favorite, and you're getting a big plus money on that side. And then we'll go to the main event, which is obviously a tremendous fight and as close to a pick'em as you're going to get on this card. We opened up this fight all the way back in May, and we opened it at a flat pick'em. Holloway minus 110 on both sides. But it's really been the early money has come in on Holloway, as you can probably tell, is it's not sitting at minus 110 anymore. Holloway's sitting minus 135. As of now, we're going to need Dustin, but we've done our best to try to get some Dustin money because a couple of the guys in the back like Holloway. I know it's a pick'em, so it's hard to have a very strong opinion on a pick'em, but yeah, this is an easy one to balance the books because there's strong action on both sides. As of now, we need Poirier, and I'm sure by the time we get to the actual fight, we'll need Poirier. So trying to write some Dustin money as of now, and we'll see how that plays out going into tomorrow.
Great stuff. Man, where do we begin? All right, I know one of the questions that came in like right off the top of the show. I thought it was a great question. Which one of these big favorites bust up the card for the parlay bettors? In your estimation, I mean, I know you're a fight fan too. We talk about this stuff backstage, and in your estimation, which one of these is the one that's going to have everyone going back to the re-rack? Is it an early fight where they've got a 6-legger, and or do you think it comes later in the card where they're feeling good and they bust out?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I was actually just talking to my other buddy who just clocked in, and or he just got to work, and we went over all the fights before I hopped on here. And the first thing I asked him, I was like, out of these 7 $5 favorites, who do we think like has a pulse to actually break these parlays? He didn't sound very confident in any of them. I made the point that I think the longer the fight goes in the Valentine fight, maybe he can make that interesting. He thinks that the other Gaudier is just too explosive, but man, it's really tough to say. But like even the crew play, I know we have a big sharp action on that. Like all these guys at these price tags, they're guys that are tough to trust. But I don't know, man. I guess if I had to pick one that's like a massive favorite, I'd say Valentine. Pitbull's not as big of a underdog, but I think he has a good shot just based off of the opening price and where we're sitting now. If you can get 2-1 on him, but man, these 4-1 dogs, it's hard to have much confidence in any of them.
Yeah, like Michael Johnson against Zellhuber is one of those spots where I'm like, I think Zellhuber goes out there and pieces this dude up, and
most likely, yeah.
Distance, right? Have you guys seen any activity over on the total on that thing? Have you seen? Like I'm thinking inside the distance. I don't know if that means I think it's a late round situation out there where Johnson screws up, whether it be the end of the second or the end of the third. End of the third would crush me if I bet my under 2.5. But are you guys seeing any activity there?
There hasn't been heavy handle on the total, but that is a very bettable total, right? Like we're sitting at 2.5, and it's basically a pick 'em on 2.5. So, yeah, if you like the finish, you're not going to be laying a big price tag. I've noticed with the method of victory stuff, the public is more inclined to bet the Zellhuber stuff in method of victories even with the sub. You're seeing sprinkles on the sub, the knockout, the decision, rather than laying this minus 650. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that I did the show earlier on Wager Talk with Andy Lang, and that was the total he said he likes under. So he's been pretty rock solid on those, and I think it does make a lot of sense with both aspects. Michael Johnson's going to go in there and try to get a finish, and he's not really scared to go exchange with anybody. And I think Zellhuber is going to probably take advantage of that most likely.
That's where I see the counter comes into play, where you see a guy that's maybe less experienced or just not as polished and throws a couple wild mitts, get a dodge, a duck, and a pop, and you can dodge a wrench, but it's going to be tough to dodge the fist of Zellhuber when it's coming at you with necklace abandoned, you know?
I definitely don't hate that look. That sounds like a good one.
tell me your thoughts on this. Now, I feel like you've changed my thinking process with regards to when the dogs get bet versus the sharp or the favorites here. But Pitbull, is there not the biggest overreaction marketplace when you see like it's like his last fight sucked, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. The general public likes to overreact here, and it's like, don't you think this guy knows he came out flat-footed? He looked like shit. He had what 18 total significant fights that fight, and people were saying he's washed, but the dude's a former champion. It's Bellator, but he's fought some of the best. And is it out of the line to think that this guy can go out there and is Ige more of the gatekeeper? I kind of feel like Ige's gatekeeper style. And Pitbull's come out and said, "I want to finish this dude." So I'm thinking, does he choke the life out of him? Are you leaning one way or the other on that thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's when I did Clint's show a little bit ago, and I didn't want to give out my same plays on all the shows, but that was my pick out of all the fights. I think, especially with these big underdogs, there's some value on Pitbull. Like I said, we opened Ige at minus 155. Usually the market's not that wrong from, opener to close. So like I said, I really wouldn't be surprised if that price comes down. And I do think you make a great point that Pitbull looked horrible in his last fight. Everyone knows that. It was his first fight. He didn't look great. And Dan Ige's been a tough out for a lot of good fighters. So, just public perception of the last, 6 months of fights, one fighter is trending in a more favorable manner as an Ige just based off of having tough outings. But I'm with you. I think that the line does not make sense. I still think Ige should be the favorite, but I think the price is a little egregious, honestly.
Just doesn't seem like like I said, my thought process when I capped it was looking at it saying, if he won that fight or that fight didn't take place, and sometimes you look at the bright light. I mean, the dude's 38 years old.
It'd be like a pick 'em. Yeah, I think it would be closer to a pick if that fight didn't happen.
That's where I was feeling there. I like that Vittori side. Talk to me real quick here about the Francisco Prado side of things here. It looks like this is a young up and comer, right? He's 23. Yeah. He's busted up. He's 1-3, but he's lost to dudes like Jake Matthews and Daniel Zellhuber as well. So we've seen these guys are kind of starting to become some of the who's. I'm not sure, is he fighting a tomato can here and Nicolay that lost in his Dana White Contender Series spot? Is this market movement sharp related, or is this just the public coming in here seeing pretty much a coin flip and a guy that's got a better record? And I use better record loosely.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like a spot where it's a must-win for Prado just based off of his last few outings, and a spot that, in theory, they're kind of giving him a spot where he should get the win. The price is close to a pick, and looking at the rest of this card, this is definitely one of the more bettable fights. I know one of my buddies in the back, he likes the Prado side, and he thinks that there's some value on him with the odds being so short. But, he's had a couple of tough outings, and this should be a step back in competition. But, nothing too respected either way on that one. But we're looking to need the Prado side right now.
And I heard you talking about Allen and Vittori. I like the Vittori side of things here. I think that's a shot to get a guy that's a really nice price against Brandon Allen, who I'm not overly impressed with this guy's fight. I know a lot of people like what he's got going on out there, but it just feels to me like, he looked flat in that Fernandez battle. And I don't know that Vittori's got the most power, but I don't know. Are you going to bet Allen because he's the Louisiana guy? Is there home cooking in that thing there? Or do you think there's any kind of activity that's causing, I think you mentioned that a little bit there, where you're starting to see some Vittori love, I think you said?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely been Vittori love. You can just tell the way the line has moved. But we did get hit by some respected action at plus 225 on Vittori, plus $2. And now it's sitting plus 165. So you can see it's moved quite a bit. Like I said, Allen was as high as minus 275, and now he's sitting minus 190. Where, I mean, I'm not going to say if you wanted to bet Vittori, you missed the price, but it certainly looks like you missed anything that's over plus 200. It doesn't look like that's going to be there anymore. So at a certain point, I'm assuming that There will be some Allen Love. But for our purpose, it's been nice to get some dog money on Vittori because especially the way this card's laid out, we're going to need a handful of dogs, or at least a few of them, to even have a chance to win on this card. Like, it's going to be very hard. We're not winning if it's all favorites tomorrow. I'll say that.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, well, speaking of, we'll use this as kind of the last thoughts here. Didi Day says, who's the most bet underdog on the card this week? What are you guys seeing out there from Dog Love?
So from a public perspective, let me look. Let me see who
That's a good question. I'm curious what that looks like. Because I think when you mentioned before, like the sharps might not come in there and bet the dogs until game day. That's still, I mentioned that in a couple of shows I've done before, and people are like, no, I don't think that's, and I'm like, man, I've been seeing it. It changed some of my betting style, and I'm the better for it. So.
Just do me a favor. Circle the lines at the end of the day, and then you'll see a lot of the lines crashing tomorrow when these guys see these numbers reach a certain pinnacle or a certain point. Even tonight, you'll see it. I mean, these prices will come back to reality. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them. It's not the same for every single fight, right? But you'll see some people. There will be more dog love day of when these prices are super inflated. But it looks like the most popular bet, Kyler Phillips has been very, very popular this week. Along with Vittori. Vittori's been a popular bet. Not as much here for Polo Costa, but I'm assuming that will be a popular bet. But as of now, I'd say those other two are probably the most popular dog bets of the week so far.
I'll tell you, I've got a question for you here, but a thought process here for the end. I don't know what the hell was going on at that, but Costa was shaking like he was.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on in that. I mean, that looked like a Michael J. Fox impression that he was doing out there. And listen, let's not dismiss Nina Drama curse here. He was messing around with her earlier this week. She was putting him in the chokehold out there, and that has not fared well for some of these fighters that like to kind of do some of those pre-fight routines with Nina. She's a good-looking gal, but there seems to be a little bit of a curse that rolls around on the end of that thing.
Yeah, certainly would. It would be nice to know what Paulo Costa we're getting tomorrow. I mean, if you get the Paulo Costa who's looking to exchange in a real fight, like that's a dog I don't mind having my money on. It just, you don't really know what Costa you're going to get. So,
right.
But clearly the market has come down quite a bit. So there is some Costa love out there for sure.
If I gave you a $300 bet, where are you putting your money?
A $300 bet. Is it lame if I just say Pitbull again?
No, that's fine.
I think
I want to know.
Yeah, I think Pitbull, just based off of the price, I think I would bet that.
I think that's
what I'd say.
I like that look too. I'll be rooting for it. Certainly it's insightful information. I love this. This is a great segment. I think this is a real blessing that you come in here and share this insight with us. And we appreciate you taking the time to do it. You guys, if you're not following Andrew, I'll plug this for him, and then we'll talk about what's happening at the Superbook. But one of the best UFC fight insight you can follow out there. You get the cash flow splits. You get where the sharp action's coming in out there. Abe Babikitas 24. You see it there on the screen. Make sure you give my guy a follow. Very responsive, very insightful, and shares just what's happening out there in Vegas, giving you guys what the boots on the ground behind the counter are seeing, and he puts it all together for you with a nice little bow before the fight night, so you can try to make some educated, informed decisions. So if you're not following him, get out there, give him a follow, show the sports money love to my guy, Abe Babikitas 24 on X. Andrew, tell him what's cooking down there in Vegas, what's happening at the Superbook, and what's cooking around your world, man.
Right on. Yeah, I appreciate that breakdown. That's really kind of you. Yeah, we have a lot of these signups going on for the college football contest that we're doing for the first time this year, along with all the super contest NFL stuff. So that's really, really kicking up right before the NFL season's coming around. But for the UFC tomorrow, we'll definitely do some reduced juice on this Max Holloway versus Poirier fight. Instead of betting into a 20-cent line, if you are a customer with us, tomorrow will be a 10-cent line. So, yeah, this is a book that is competitive in pricing on all these major markets. We might not have all the same markets as all these automated companies, but we're going to give you a fair bet and we're going to give you fair limit or a fair split. So if you're in Vegas, I think this is a great place to watch sports and bet sports. So come say hello if you're in town. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on X. I try to be super helpful or responsive, and always trying to learn a thing or two from anybody. So yeah, thanks as always for having me on. I always love doing these shows, especially when it's a fun fight card to talk about. So we got some exciting fights tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to doing next week's as well. Even though we lost the Aaron Pico fight, which is a big bummer, I was really looking forward to that fight. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you next week as well.
Respect, appreciate you, my guy. Give my guy Abe Abakitis 24 a follow on X. You guys, good luck with your bet and get those bets in. These 7 o'clock games are popping. We'll see you guys again. Check us out tomorrow. We're going live. We'll be doing it at 6 p.m. Of course, you can follow Ramon Scott, giving you guys the morning steam at 9 a.m. And on behalf of the Sports